that even mean, Bowers Game Corner?
Ahoy there, YouTube! I'm back again today for another game review charged by BoardGameExchange.com, the internet's only board game rental website. Today I am very excited to be checking out Warring Kingdom from Harry Gow. This is for 2 to 4 players, ages 8 and up, and it'll take you about 45 minutes to play. This is a game that will be on a Kickstarter near you very, very soon. And in Warring Kingdom, you will be building up a civilization trying to protect your castle, while at the same time going forth and crushing your opponent's army and then eventually capturing his castle. It's got some deck building in it. Let's open it up and see how it plays. Okay, so inside of Warring Kingdom, let's take a look at what you're going to get. As I always like to mention, this is a promotional edition of the game I have right here. Yours is subject to change. It's probably going to look a lot better, I know, especially the rule sheet will. Another thing I want to mention right from the get-go is, I said it's 2 to 4 players. However, I was given 6 reference cards and 6 castle cards, leading me to believe that it might be up to 6 players. I'll be sure to post a correction. If it is 6 players, that would be really sweet. And I think we played with 5 players one time. So it definitely can be played with 6, but it does drag the game out a little bit longer, obviously. But let's take a look. First and foremost, your handy-dandy rule booklet. I believe it's 6 or 7 pages. Obviously, I'm assuming it's going to be in full color. Mine is not because I just printed it off. But the rule booklet is not the worst, and it's not the best. There just needs some stuff that they need to stretch out a little bit more and explain a little bit more in depth. But you'll have no trouble figuring out how the game works and getting running in no time, which is always what it's about. Next, you're going to get a lot of cards, and you're going to get 10 dice. The dice are used for battle, and we'll push those to the side, and we'll show you those later. Next, we're going to look at our cards, because what you're going to have is, you're going to have one castle. Everybody's going to have a castle, and this is what you're trying to do in this game. You're trying to defend your castle, and at the same time, take over other people's castle. Because if you take over somebody else's castle, then you, sir, are the winner of the game. Now, the castle, it's there to help you actually remember the rules, which I really like how they did that. At the bottom it says, as long as you have the castle, you get +1 action, +5 cards, +3 coins, and +1 buy. So essentially, that's just telling you that you get that every single turn. I think that's a clever way they did that. And your castle has 23 health, which means that in order to lose your castle, someone is going to have to attack you for more than 23 damage. And in this game, you can't have partial damage. So if someone does 22 damage, they can't do any more. Tough cookies, they're not taking over your castle. But if they do 24, boom, game is over. But anywho, what you're going to be doing is you are going to be building up a kingdom to protect your castle. You're going to have cards out in front of you in rows of 5, like so. Obviously, you're not going to have money cards, but you're going to have them set out like so. And what you're going to want to do is you're slowly but surely going to want to be upgrading these cards so you can have the best possible kingdom. Now, how are you going to be upgrading them? Well, you're going to have to buy the cards, obviously. And so we have our copper, our silver, and our gold. And on there you can see the gold will get you +3 coins, but it's going to cost you 7 coins to purchase it because it's got the 7 right there. Likewise, there's going to be 4 merchant piles. Now, these are where the game really gets spicy. One in particular I like a lot, but I'll get to that one in a minute. First, over here, you are going to have your soldier pile. These are going to be guys that are going to help you attack and defend your castle. And you know, it's pretty self-explanatory. Some are bigger and stronger. Some have special abilities. There's like an archer who can actually attack from the 2nd row, and he doesn't have to be in the 1st row, which is really nice. And those are going to be your soldiers. Over here, you're going to have both their attack strength and their defense strength, how much it costs to keep them out on the battlefield, because you're going to have to pay every single turn just to have soldiers out there. So you could get like a whole bunch of awesome soldiers out in your kingdom, but if you can't afford the upkeep, well, then that's bad news for you, because you're going to have to put them back into your deck. Next here, we got our weapons pile. These are going to have various different weapons that you're going to be able to equip on different people. You got bows and spears and axes and, you know, your typical stuff, short bow, long bow. A whole bunch of different weapons are in there. Pretty self-explanatory on those. And you're actually going to be equipping those to your soldier, or to all your different people. The third merchant pile, which is my favorite, is actually the civilian pile. And this is my favorite element of the game. This is where, for me, the game really gets spicy. Because there are boatloads, there's tons of different civilians in here, and they all have different special abilities. Like the farmer, let's see. he can +1 coin for each civilian in your hand. So, you know, he's just out there to give you some money. Then there's spies who can sabotage, and strategists, and apothecary. There's a whole bunch of different ones. And every time I've played the game, if you have different civilians, the game is going to feel different every single time. You're going to have to formulate a strategy based on what kind of civilians you have, which is something I really like. Keeps the game very fresh. Next over here, you're going to have pretty much everything that is not soldiers, civilians, or weapons. You got armor, and books, and magic, and potions, and a whole bunch of other stuff. And those will be very helpful to you. And that's pretty self-explanatory there. I mean, there's some armor you can equip to your guys, and there's potions you can drink, and magic, and a whole bunch of other different stuff. How these piles work is, normally they're not going to be face up. They're actually going to be face down like this. But I'm showing you them face up so you can see the cards. And once you decide to buy during your turn, you are going to draw 3 of these cards blindly. So you're not actually going to see what you're drawing, and you're going to be able to buy 1 of them. So if you can't afford any of them, well, then tough cookies. If you can, though, then that's great. Then you can put 1 of them into your discard pile, and eventually that will get shuffled back into your hand, and you can put it into your kingdom. Whichever ones you don't purchase, you'll put into a discard pile like so. So I mentioned that. You got the 4 merchants, you got your money down here, and then you're going to have 3 that you can always buy. Over here you have your beggar, your town guard, and your warrior. These are going to be face up, and you can buy these whenever you want. Like, for instance, the beggar costs 0. It says return 2 income cards to turn the beggar into a warrior. So essentially, you're going to be getting ready to sell your money, but you can turn this beggar into a warrior, which will help attack and defend your castle. Next, the Town Guard, one of my other personal favorite cards. If you trade in 2 Town Guard cards, you're going to gain a beggar, which stinks a little bit, but then you're going to flip over the top 3 soldier cards and keep the cheapest one. So essentially, if you flipped over 3 really good soldier cards, you're going to still get to keep the cheapest one, which, you know, really could make the difference in a game. Next over here, you have your warrior. He's going to be weaker than nearly all the soldiers most of the time, but, you know, it's important to have it there. Just your meat shield, he's going to come down, he's going to pound some stuff when the time is right. So, you're going to start the game, and you're going to start the game in typical deck building fashion with really bad cards. You got 5 beggars, you got 5 town guards, and you got 5 coppers. And how you're going to do, you're going to look at your handy dandy reference card, and the first thing you're going to do is you're going to draw 5 cards. So you're going to draw 5 cards, take a look at what we got. We got 3 beggars, 1 town guard, and 1 copper. You're going to look and you're going to see if you want to perform any of these actions. Well, in order to do the town guard, I'm going to need 2 town guards, so I can't perform that. I have the beggar, though. Return 2 income cards. Well, I only have 1 income card, so unfortunately, I can't play any of these cards. So, what I can do is, I can decide to deploy one of my units. Now, as I mentioned, you are going to be building up a kingdom. Now, you might not want a beggar there defending your castle, but the bottom line is, he's better than not having anything defending your castle. So you might say, all right, I'm going to put my beggar right there, and you can deploy 1 guy at a time. So I would deploy my beggar right there, and then if I wanted to, I could attack someone else. Obviously, the beggar is not going to do much damage, so that's not what I'm going to do. So next, I'll move on to the pay the upkeep. So my beggar has 0 right there, so I don't have to pay any upkeep, which is good. And then I go to my buy phase, where I could buy 1 card from out of here, or buy a civilian that might let me buy more than 1 card. Now the thing is, if you decide to attack one of your opponents, you cannot buy things. So you have to make sure, all right, I might really want to buy something, and I might really want to attack. You have to decide which one you want to do more. So you might say, all right, but you really don't have too much money. All I have is a copper. And you say, oh, but wait a second. Just for having the castle down here, you're automatically going to get 3 coins. So essentially, I have 4 coins, which means I could buy a warrior if I wanted. I could buy a silver if I wanted. I could get a town guard or a beggar. Probably not the best choice there. Or if I wanted to gamble, and this is an aspect of the game I really do like, it's kind of like a push your luck kind of thing, is I could flip over the top 3 cards of a deck, and if one of them is cheaper than 4, then I can buy it. But if they aren't cheaper than 4, well, then you know what? I am out of luck. So let's just say I wanted to push my luck, and so I took 3 cards out of this pile. 1 cost 8, 1 cost 7, 1 cost 8, and go, no! I can't buy anything. And essentially, that buy phase would be wasted for me. And then my opponent, well, then you're going to discard your cards, And then you're going to draw 5 new cards and rinse, wash, and repeat. And it's typical deck building that once you get down to, once your deck's down to 1 card, you're going to take that 1 card and then shuffle all the rest of your cards into it. So all these cards you're buying, you're eventually going to come back to, and they're going to be in your hand. That's how the buying phase works. Next, let's do a quick summary of how the battle phase works. I promised I would show you how these dice work, and these are what you're going to do with the dice. Where did my castle go? My castle's going to be right here. So we're just going to pretend that I have this lineup right here ready to attack. I am ready to attack. Now, how this works is you're going to decide who you want to attack with your kingdom, and you are going to roll 5 dice. Your opponent is also going to roll 5 dice. So let's see what we got here. We have 2 2s, a 4, a 3, and a 6. Now how this works is these are numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And they are always going to be that for every single player. Actually, I think it's the other way around. So we'll just do it like that. 2, 3, 4, and then we have the 6, which we'll get to in a second. So essentially what this means is this warrior is going to be attacking twice, or he's going to be attacking twice. So he does 4 damage, so essentially he's going to do 8 damage to the corresponding 2. So let's just say we had a guy right here. Let's pretend this guy is attacking, this guy's right here. This guy's going to attack twice, and he's going to do 8 damage, and boom! This guy's got 5 health, so he would be dead and out of there. And then this guy would go ahead and attack the guy in front of him 1 time, and this guy would attack him 1 time. Now, as I mentioned, you have to completely kill something in order to kill it. There's no damage markers. You can't just say, all right, I did 8 damage, you get 8 damage points. No. That's not how it works. That's where the 6s come into play. The 6s, if you roll a 6, will do a critical strike, essentially killing that. So let's just say this guy had 1 health. If you had a 6, boom, he would have died. Now let's pretend that the 3 and a 4 attacked this guy and this guy. They would not kill them, which means these essentially are wasted rolls. Now, we'll take a look at what our other guys rolled. They did a 1, a 4, a 5, and a 6. Now, the 2 1s aren't going to help. The 5 is not going to help. But this 4 is going to do a counterattack, which means he is going to do 11 damage back, which means, boom, this warrior would die. But if you want to continue to roll, you would say, all right, I'm going to continue to try and press on, and you would keep attacking and going back and forth. And that is how the attacking works in Warring Kingdom. As I mentioned, you're going to keep doing this, building up your kingdom, attacking people, doing that sort of thing, until someone's castle gets destroyed. And that is how, in a nutshell, Warring Kingdom is played. Alrighty then, Warring Kingdom from Harry Gow. What are my final thoughts? Let's go to the pros, let's go over the cons. As I always like to say, the game's not going to be for everybody, first and foremost. The artwork is on the darker side, even though I really did enjoy the artwork. And also, the mechanics aren't going to scratch everybody's back. I know my wife personally didn't like building up her thing, and it does take a while to finally build up your civilization. But if you like building up your kingdom, not your civilization, I should say your kingdom, then this is definitely going to be a game for you. But some people aren't going to like to have to work it and start, with the piddly little beggars and the town's guards and then work your way up until you got just this awesome kingdom. But those are the only real cons I have for the game. Moving on to the pro side, I did enjoy my time with Warring Kingdom. I liked it quite a bit. I liked how you were never sure exactly what you were going to get when you bought stuff, because you just get the top 3 cards of the deck. I like that, where it's not like, in other deck building games, it's like, okay, I'm going to get that card. And it's like, this time, you might get what you want, or you might not get what you want. Or you might not even be able to afford it. And then you're like, oh, I should have just got the warrior. Or the money. There's a lot of stuff going on here. There's a lot of moving parts in this game. And you're going to want to try and focus on what's happening in the other guy's kingdom, but at the same time, there's going to be up to 10 kingdom cards in everybody's thing. So if you got a 4-player game, you can't keep track of 30 other people's 30 other cards in other people's kingdoms. It can get really daunting. As I mentioned before, I really like the artwork in this game. Could not state that enough. I love the art style for some particular reason. It's on the darker side, it's on the gothier side, so to speak, but I really did enjoy it a lot. Overall, Warring Kingdom from Harry Gow is a game that I personally really enjoyed, and if it sounds like it might be your cup of tea, you should definitely check out the Kickstarter, which I will post a link to once the Kickstarter launches. If you enjoyed this review, please be sure to subscribe to my channel. Thanks for your time, YouTube. That was the review for Warring Kingdoms. For more reviews and previews, check back at Bauer's Game Corner, Also, check out BoardGameExchange.com. It's cooler than skeleton pajamas.